My friends, the great experiment.
Prodigy.
Prodigy. Hidden. Trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Ben Harrison.
I'm Adam Pranica.
Back at it again. Another episode of Prodigy. Adam, must have been our lifelong ambition.
Thought a lot about how Star Trek uses doppels and what a different spin this episode puts on that. Like, what if you could make a copy that was perfect? So perfect that like it's not just indistinguishable, but like the copy believed that they were you. And there would be no reason to believe that they weren't.
They stand up to scans.
Mm-hmm.
You've got an embarrassment of Doppler situation is what you've got.
You do. The thing is control, isn't it? Like, I would love to have a copy of me to do all the shit that I don't want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But then you know that copy of me is going to rebel.
Yeah.
And then I'd have to kill me. And that's legal in only a couple of states.
Yeah. I mean, it's gaining traction in a lot of legislatures. There's an arc in Calvin and Hobbes where Calvin makes a duplicate of himself so that one can deal with all the bullshit of going to school and doing homework, and the other one can play and goof around all day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then immediately the duplicate is like, no, bad deal for me. No way.
Yeah.
That kind of feels like the cynics version of the story that we got here today.
Right. Yeah. There's an instrumentality to these doppels that makes a lot of sense. And in a very Star Trek Prodigy kind of way, like a thing is done so well that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's done too well.
Now I'm bad for getting an A++.
You ever do anything too well, Ben?
It's never happened to me.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens to you all the time, and that's kind of like the main stressor in your life.
So stressful.
If you could duplicate yourself, would you? Because it's like, I mean, like, a lot of people make the allegation, the fucked up allegation, that sci-fi is just a way of exploring the present, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, all of this sci-fi are just other genres of fiction in sci-fi clothing so that we can, like, explore our own reality through the lens of, or whatever. But, like, the prospect of duplicating your consciousness into a facsimile of yourself is not something that anyone really has to deal with.
It's such a great question. There's a term of endearment that my wife and I use with each other, which goes something like, "You're the only person I like." And that word is specific, like, you know, like that's even more important than love, really.
Right.
Like, you're the only person in the world I can fucking tolerate right now.
Yeah.
And I feel like this is a spin on that. Like, am I the only person I like? Would that be possible if I made another me that was a perfect copy? I don't know.
Because, like, Riker did not care for himself when confronted.
No, and Riker's very likable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like, who better to be your wingman than Thomas Riker, right?
I'd love to find out. I would be curious enough to try it. I think that's what I'll say.
If it was, like, you're not coming back from it, though? Like, because, like, this is not Tuvix where there are no consequences for undoing this person. This is like another person that thinks that they're you.
Oh, you're saying there would be consequences with a social security card and like,
yeah,
like this would be a real person.
Yeah.
I guess, look at me, like I'm trying to construct rules around this.
Yeah.
Like as a natural thing. Like if this person existed, would they have your name? Would they have your identification? Would there literally be two yous?
Yeah.
Or is this a Tom Riker situation where they're you in every other way besides on paper?
Right.
Because if they're on paper, suddenly you can't murder them. But if they're not, I think you could.
Mm-hmm.
You could just fucking dump that body in a ditch.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like jacking off not being cheating, you know? It's like murdering yourself is not murder.
But then are you dead? If you murder your doppel and it's a perfect doppel, and then like they find the body or whatever, like you would then have a death certificate as a living person. That would be all kinds of complicated.
That'd be kind of neat though, right? I mean, it's usually just like criminals and cult leaders that fake their own deaths.
I know.
But you wouldn't have even faked it. You would have done it for real.
Yeah, exactly. And then you'd get to go to your own funeral, which is the dream of any vain person.
Yeah. And then have it revealed at your funeral that you were a COVID hoarder.
Yeah.
Come back! I've got flu shots!
Yep. That's how it would go.
Yeah.
And then you're buried with all the toilet paper.
like an Egyptian king.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think the Egyptians were buried with a lot of paper products, and then when you just open up their esophagi or whatever, sarcophagi, esophagi would be a different thing to open.
Yeah.
For necrophiliacs, when you open up their death room, maybe all the paper's gone because the paper just disintegrated.
Oh, it's so dusty in here, and it's like there's a reason for that.
Yeah. Yeah, they were hoarding toilet paper.
They went to their deaths with no brain in their head, but immaculate assholes.
I'd like to think they were smart enough not to use a bunch of toilet paper.
Well, should we get into an episode that asks the question, would you wipe your doppel?
If your doppel got sick, would you shower your doppel?
It's season 2, episode 6 of Star Trek Prodigy, Imposter Syndrome.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
On my mark, go fast.
There's like the me doppel in the shower, and then the doppel outside with a single bullet gunshot wound to the head. Like, I thought the sick one would be in the shower. What happened to the one outside? Now the one outside actually saw an angle.
Yeah.
And that kind of changed everything.
Dal is being pursued by Gwyn, and it does not seem like a particularly friendly game of cat and mouse, does it?
You can't run forever, Dal.
We talk about it all the time, how rare it is to see people on Star Trek run at full speed.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another example of animation exceeding the ability of what a real life actor could do. Like, they've done it before with fight scenes.
Sure.
They're doing it again with running. You're getting a lot of running in this early scene.
They are running.
And the tone of it is like, initially when I saw the chase, I was like, oh, this is a game. This is a game that kids play.
Mm-hmm.
But it is very clear it is not a game that kids play when Dal is fast up against the wall and Jankum Pog kind of is it safe sim with his whirring arm device.
Yeah.
And drill bit attachment.
It's like a rotating knife that also has wharf lightning coming out of it.
This ought to be quick.
Jacob, Gwyn, see, please.
Very scary. It seems like the gang have turned on Dal.
It's like a wood drill bit versus the other kind. You know, the wood drill bit's very wide.
Right.
There's like the pointy part and then the wider part.
Yeah. Like, what do you call that? A hole cutter.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Jankum Pog has is used for cutting holes.
Yeah. He just got done making a bunch of glory holes in the bathroom at the end of the ensign bunk bed hallway.
Yeah. We don't get a resolution to this scene right here. We have to cut backward 24 hours.
That's back when the Voyager was throwing its ass all the way back. And the kids were just having fun on the holodeck.
Yeah, how about this photorealistic shot of Voyager in space? I did not expect to enjoy these exterior shots as much as I do on this show. The ships look fucking great.
Yeah. Have we seen whether this Voyager angles its nacelles up to go to warp in the way that the Voyager No Bloody A, B, C, or D does?
I have not seen. No.
I read that it is designed that way because of the warp speed limit thing that they did in TNG. You remember there was that episode like late in the run where they were like, it was a climate change analogy, like we're fucking up subspace with all this warping around.
You know the hood is fucking rolling coal out there. They don't give a shit. Fucking woke starship design. Give me a break.
I wonder, because it's never actually explained on screen in the run of Star Trek Voyager, despite having 7 seasons to address. Why would you hinge the nacelles on a starship?
It seems to me like it would be the same thinking that fighter jets fold up their wings, right? Like if you were to go to a starbase that was very full of other ships,
right,
you'd want to make room for yourself.
So that you can go on that elevator down into the starbase.
Sure. Yeah, that's it exactly.
Yeah, we don't get to see that, but we do see the gang on the holodeck, and they're just having a great time being good little campers and doing everything that Dr. Mark wants them to do.
I mean, that's the tone, right? Like there's such a unique tone of a kid trying to act as if they're doing the right thing when you know for certain that that is not what they're doing. And Dr. Mark's too stupid to tell the difference.
Oh, hi, Mark.
Right. What they've got is star charts of a nebula that looks like the spiral that Murph made out of a bunch of people's discarded and purloined food and clothing. And it's also the thing that Gwen saw in her vision. And they've identified a Class O planet that disappeared from star charts. And the theory is that that's where Chakotay and the protostar must have gone to.
It's the only planet in the swirl, so makes sense.
There's a little debate. Should we ask permission from Admiral Janeway to go check out this planet? Because, we feel like this is really strong lead and we can repair the timeline. And that seems like something Admiral Janeway, who is, I shall remind you, an admiral and therefore has a ton of sway in Starfleet, would be interested in pursuing.
This happens a lot on the show, and it happens a lot to kids. I wonder how often or how strongly this speaks to a kid viewer. Like, anytime this group of kids has to do something, they need to ask permission first or decide whether or not the risk of not asking permission is worth it. And that's what they're turning over in this scene. Like, yeah, it's really important that we go to this planet, but, what if they say no? Then all of a sudden the adults know what we want to do and they can be even more forceful with how they stop us from doing the thing.
Right.
Or we could just do the thing in secret, hope to get away with it, and hope to be forgiven after the fact.
I love Rok-Tahks just losing her mind at this point.
Yeah.
You want to steal a ship again? I'm sensing a pattern.
Borrow. It was always borrowing.
So many boundaries have been crossed. So many mistakes have been made. So many things have imperiled their eventual entrance into Starfleet Academy. At this point, Rok-Tahks is just like, what are you guys talking about?
So it seems pretty evident that going and doing and asking forgiveness later would be the plan. But, were they to take the Infinity ship away, you could understand how, the ship part of that mission could be done because that's a ship with a cloaking device. But when you're under lockdown and you're a kid, how do you solve for that part on Voyager A? The solution? Holo kids.
And Jankum and Zero have been working on this in secret.
I don't like that they're working on this in secret that the other kids don't know about. I don't like this at all.
Yeah, there's something Barclay-ish about this.
Yes.
We have a lot to talk about, Mr. Barclay.
Why is Chaos Murph shaped like a fleshlight?
Something Geordie-ish about it too, I suppose, now that you put it that way.
Yeah.
I'm guilty of a terrible crime, Doctor.
But yeah, the logic is these holos will, act as if they are us while we are gone, and we will go do this adventure, solve the timeline problem, and be back before anyone realizes we're gone because of these holos.
This is like if Ferris Bueller made a perfect copy of Ferris Bueller instead of the dummy in the bed with the keyboard mapped to snoring sounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the copy is absolutely smashing another copy of Sloane.
Yeah.
His sister looks in and is like, okay, Ferris is fine. Principal Rooney looks in, does not look away.
No.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So he was playing method.
Yeah. This scene of Ferris Bueller ends like the movie Happiness ends.
I came.
The Jenkum holo kind of glitches pretty quickly. Like it was the Jenkum that we were talking to in the scene beforehand, right? But then it suddenly falls apart, and they're talking about how like the only one of them that could calibrate it properly is Rok-Tahk. So once again, Rok-Tahk is being roped into a plan with which she has great misgivings. They also need to figure out how they're going to steal the ship to go do this adventure. So Gwyn, Murph, and Dal go to check it out. And we learn that Gwyn is actually starting to develop a little bit of facility with Murph's language.
But it's not useful or helpful in any way at this point, right?
Not yet.
This is like when you go to a foreign country and you've got like just the bare minimum of out in public retail words. Like you've got please and thank you and coffee. Right. That's all you got.
I had a French teacher tell me when I'm in France, don't do my accent as well as I can, because people will think that you're better at French than you are.
That is such an interesting thought. It's occurred to me that when I'm in Italy, especially, the ability to do Italian is almost totally dependent on your ability to do an impression of speaking Italian.
Yeah, which is a lot of fun.
And I think we're saying the same thing. Like the harder you go at the impression, people are going to make assumptions that you don't want them to make. You actually do want to sound worse.
And like, as much as I love the French, like they're pretty brutal when they realize that they can talk around you and you aren't going to be able to understand what they're saying. Like,
yeah, they're cruel people.
I am too old for your bullshit.
Young minds, fresh ideas. We don't.
They're like peering through the door at the time-shielded ship, and Commander Tysus catches them in the hallway and is fucking pissed because they've been going through this ship after its little time jump, and he found that they just left a tricorder lying around.
Like garbage.
Of course. Didn't know I lost it in there. Won't happen again, sir.
This scene with Tysus, I think, confirmed a feeling I've had about the characters on this show for a long time, and I didn't know it until this moment, which is that I'm comfortable with Janeway. I'm comfortable with the kids. I'm uncomfortable with Tysus. I'm uncomfortable with any other adult. This is the most time we've ever spent with Tysus and having him talk to our characters. Yeah. And I was like, I don't like this. I don't trust this person. Like, this is an adult authority figure and I don't know what their intentions are. Like, I feel like that's intentional from the show.
That really reminds me of certain adults I encountered as a kid. Like,
for sure.
Especially like the dads of friends who like weren't around that much, but then when they like came home, you're like, fuck, like I don't know what this dude's deal is. And it doesn't seem like my friend does either.
And and he's got a 12-pack again.
Yeah. We learned from Tysus that the Infinity is about to be destroyed on the orders of Starfleet Command. Like, this is a ship that we should not have. It should not exist.
He's like, good thing we didn't destroy it with your tricorder on board, dipshit.
I like that Dal gets a laugh from him, like when he suggests, like, just cloak it. Nobody will know the difference. Which is like that kind of scary dad that you encounter as a kid. Like, when they react to something in a way that you don't expect, it's almost like more scary, even if it's a good reaction.
What did you make of the value placed on the tricorder? Like, he knew it belonged to Dal, which seems like you can piece that together in your mind, how he would have gotten there.
Right.
But like,
can't you just replicate one?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there seems to be a value to it and a scarcity maybe, like, because he makes a point that like, you don't just leave one of these things around.
Right. Right. I wonder if it's more of like an infosec thing. Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's like a big problem in Enterprise when they leave material in the field, especially with a more primitive culture or whatever. Like, Maybe in Starfleet you are just trained to be like extremely buttoned up with your equipment at all times, so that when you do go on an away mission, you don't accidentally contaminate a primitive culture or whatever.
It also feels like, to use the adult kid analogy again, like a real, why don't you fucking clean up your toys? Like,
Right.
Put your toys away kind of vibe to it.
But they realize that this is perfect, right? Like the ship is being destroyed, so everybody's going to think it's gone. This is like faking your death, you know? Like
Totally.
there's so much you can get away with if everybody assumes that the USS Infinity is gone. So like between them having holo dupes and everyone thinking the Infinity is gone, like they're back in the money. Like they're going to have their own fucking starship again pretty soon.
Yeah. Yeah. So 0800 hours becomes the deadline, and that's a time that's going to apply pressure to the story starting now. Dal sees this as an opportunity, and it's one that they're going to use for their purposes. They need to get those holos working first. Holos are the key.
Yeah.
Gotta have holos.
Gotta have holos. In order to help herself think, Rok-Tahks has recreated the bridge of the protostar in the holodeck, and the protostar crew is working much better now that she's tackled some of the underlying code. But there, like, we learned that there's like some AI calibration that needs to take place, and that's going to take time. So while these duplicates are kind of like getting set up, they just need to kill time, which they suddenly don't have because Admiral Janeway has come knocking on their door, and like a 16-year-old with a dirty magazine, they're like, just a second.
I mean, it is many, many seconds of like the sound of rustling inside, and the door is locked.
Mm-hmm.
And, the holos and the reals are arguing amongst themselves about like who's going to hide. And it starts off this conflict in a really interesting way. Like, if the holo is so good and such a perfect match for its model that it believes it's not a holo at all, that's going to be a problem. And because there's so little time to sort this out in the moment, the reals are like, all right, we're going to hide. So all the real kids hide, and the holos are put out there to have this interaction with Janeway and Dr. Mark.
The logic behind this is that they won't be able to sell that they are the reals if they don't believe themselves to be the reals, which I like that was just like a shortcut that they took because they didn't have a lot of time to get the programming in order. But that conflict is the one that spirals into the ultimate conflict of the episode. And with an hour until the Infinity is like launched into this star, they have this conversation with Janeway about like what's going to happen. And then she and Dr. Mark leave, and suddenly the holos are like, well, fuck you guys, we're out of here. We're going to go do the mission.
How efficient is this scene at conveying like so many necessary concepts and answering so many questions? Because like, this is the best possible test for the holos. You need them to fool Janeway and Dr. Mark almost exclusively. Yeah. And they do it in 10 seconds.
And they're doing it so well that they're starting to fool some of the kids. Like,
yeah.
And so when the holos leave and lock the reals in the holodeck, they're like, well, shit.
It's because they think that the others are the holos.
Right.
It's not like, the tone of this is so interesting too. It's like, it's not that one of them are acting malevolent and the reals aren't. It's like they truly believe that they're real, and they truly believe that their others are not.
Yeah, and I think that maybe at this point it's jumbled up too. Like some of them are the reals that are leaving and some of them aren't.
Yeah, it seems that way.
So we've got an hour now until the Infinity is launched into the sun, and the ones that are left locked in the room bust out and realize that they have to get their holos and get them back to the holodeck so that they can get out of here.
I love the thinking here of like, they're not going to stay as a group to go catch them. Like strategically, who's better at catching you than you? Mm-hmm. So they all individually go out to find themselves.
I've been watching through the Fast and Furious movies while working out lately. Because I'll do like a 20 or a 40-minute row on the rowing machine. So I'll just take it in like little chunks.
Uh-huh.
And at the beginning of one of the movies, The Rock is talking about how they've got to like catch some bad guy, and he says, "To catch a wolf, you need a wolf. Let's go hunting." And that's how he introduces the idea of teaming up with Dom Toretto and his crew.
Yeah.
And it's like, but you got to catch a wolf to get the wolf to catch the wolf, then, The Rock. It doesn't make any fucking sense.
Those movies are not for making sense.
No. They're for working out.
Yes. Got to get that pump.
Yeah.
That's it, get it.
So this plan of taking the Infinity ship and going and faking its destruction and so forth is great and everything, but what we learn is that if the Hollows are the ones to go through with this mission, the Hollows disappear because the Hollows are only able to remain on Voyager A.
Right. I guess they must be working off Voyager A's computer core and stuff.
Yeah.
So they sabotage the mission by thinking that they're the real ones and accidentally become nothing.
Exactly. They don't even know it.
Yeah. So Dal like runs into Hollow Zero, but Hollow Zero is not necessarily Dal's problem. So
Hollow Zero, we learn, can read minds like actual Zero. What?
This is a fucking hell of a hologram.
I know.
Wow. Okay.
I think you'll leave that out. Except for it ruins the illusion for Hollow Zero, right? And Hollow Zero needs to believe that they are Zero actual.
Unless Hollow Zero can only read the other Hollows, which makes programmatical sense, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So Dal does find Dal. And I was amazed to learn that a not even cadet in the academy can walk around a Federation starship with a weapon. Because this turns into a phaser point standoff.
Savick must be rolling over in her grave. Coming from a time where you couldn't discharge a weapon on a Federation starship.
Yeah.
And now they're just giving them to kids?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
We need to score a lot of platinum fast.
Licensed businessman.
This ship and her history will shortly become the care of another crew. They will continue the voyages we have begun.
The greatest trick.
The interesting thing about the confrontations we get between the reals and their doppels is that their copies are so perfect that their strategies are also identical, which means that their interactions end in stalemates.
Every single time.
Yeah.
You know, time is counting down now. We're like 30 minutes left. There's a moment between Zero and Magell in the hallway that you kind of feel like Zero is going to like put an arm up against a wall and start like kicking it to Magell a little bit.
I thought the same thing, especially like Zero runs into her ass.
Yeah.
Oh, my apologies.
Hey, Zero, how's the accidental ass running into?
Yeah.
But then Zero sees other Zero and so has to like run away from this potentially sexy interaction. We get to look at the blue hypergiant that they're going to destroy the Infinity ship with, and beautiful design on this star, I thought.
Yeah, looks good.
We get the confrontation between the Jenkins Pog, which is a real crisis for both of them because the evenness of the match and the like equalness of their skills of an engineer are such a head fuck that, you know, Jenkins Pog is like losing his ability to grapple with the reality of the situation and losing his confidence in his own assessment of who he is.
I love that this moment was included in the show because I have to believe that there was an argument about whether or not an existential crisis like this, as seen on screen, would be too complex for a little kid. But I think in another way, it's also the scariest part of this episode when Jenkins Pog starts going, I don't know if I'm real or not.
Right.
Because if that guy is me in every way, what does that mean about me?
I love that sort of the doofiest of the characters is the one that is also the most perceptive of what the ramifications of this could be.
Great call. Yeah.
And it's both a very scary scene and a very funny scene, I think.
In Cetacean Ops, Rok-Tahk is having the same problem with her holodoppel, except unlike every other Prodigy kid, these two decide to work together instead of attempt to shoot each other or do some sort of contest.
We put our heads together to find another way? Yay! Team Rock!
Just total Rok-Tahk. And I think during this scene, there is a extreme close-up of Rok-Tahk's face that felt very at me in a way that I did not enjoy.
I think that they're going closer on Rok-Tahk's face this season generally.
I think so too.
I think they heard you and they were like, fuck you.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling it. So we finally catch up with the moment we saw in the cold open, Ben.
Right.
Where the gang finds Dahl, and just as it seems all will be lost, the other Gwyn uses a fire extinguisher to kind of spy hunter the fight scene. And then that allows for enough time for the rest of the gang to show up.
It turns into what we would call a Mexican standoff, but they call a Hannonian pickle. And it's all a big confrontation until Team Rock comes and saves the day by just saying like, hey, like ultimately all of us want the same thing. So therefore, what we need to do is go back to the holodeck and work together. And at this point, the AI calibration is complete. So what they can do is reboot the entire holo grid on the ship. The holo proteges will show back up with no knowledge of the mission that they're going to go on, but fully operable as duplicates. And the corporeal proteges can go get on the ship and do their adventure on the Infinity.
Yeah, seems like a pretty good plan. I love the series of vignettes that we get of the different areas of the ship as this reset takes place. Like all of the different ways that holos are used. And then when they're removed at surprising moments, what the consequences are of that.
And I love that the ones that disappear of the main cast are not necessarily the ones you expect just based on the framing of the shots.
Right. There's a holo simulation that Noam is running, like a vacation scene that gets turned off, for example. It's not just Dr. Mark disappearing. It's all the different ways that holos are used.
Yeah, but you've got the two copies of the main cast like standing opposing each other, and it's not like one side of that shot goes away and the other doesn't. It's like they've intermixed themselves.
Yeah.
In an interesting way.
Really cool.
So the corporeal proteges are now racing against time because they have scant minutes before the Infinity ship gets launched, and they're heading for the bay when, oh shit, it seems like Dr. Mark has caught them and is going to make them do some stupid bullshit that will prevent them from going on their mission. But who should come around the corner to cover for them but Majel?
I mean, is Majel a robo-lover?
I think she wants to fuck Zero, yeah.
That's the reason until it's proven wrong.
Yeah.
I think that's what I'm going to say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and the way you distract Dr. Mark is appealing to his vanity, and this is what she does.
I heard that you are a skilled opera singer, open to giving vocal lessons.
I would be delighted.
Very helpful, but too little too late, because they get to the bay and the ship has already gone through the force field into the hard vacuum. And we cut up to the bridge where Janeway and her Interesting Times gang are talking about how this is like a fitting end to their mission because Chakotay loved big blue ones so much.
There's coffee in that blue sun.
Janeway's like, I can't help but think of Chakotay in a moment like this. The only thing that would make it a better match is if these were two large blue objects. The way I most often think of Chakotay. The thing he most often complained about to me.
And Tysus is in the corner like, my balls are not Chakotay's costume.
It's fun to do Janeway voice again.
Yeah. They're saying their farewell to the Infinity, and we feel like that's it, like adventure over, season of Prodigy over. But nope, the kids transport aboard the Infinity, and they all take their positions at the various stations on board the ship. They managed to do a sneaky kind of transport where they like hid their carrier wave or something so that nobody on board the Voyager would be any the wiser that someone transported at the last minute. And once they are out of sensor range, they fire up the cloaking device and they are off to the races. Talking about, well, at least we left those perfect facsimiles of ourselves back aboard the Voyager.
This is a real dun-dun-dun, I think.
Uh-huh.
Given our experiences up to this point when we see the holo kids reappear, because we're told, like, their memories would be wiped, these holos know nothing about their counterparts. And I think we're going to expect them to act indistinguishable from their originals, right?
Right. But no.
Ben, how many capital D's are on this dun-dun-dun, you think? Single D, double D, triple D?
I think it's the first D is capital and then the subsequent ones are lowercase. Because it's like a funny dun-dun-dun. It's not like a fuck, I can't believe it dun-dun-dun.
Man, I really kind of took it as a fuck. Like, I think this is really bad news. I'm going to give it, this one's double D's on the dun-duns.
Because what it seems like has happened is they've got the personalities of other characters in the birdies of, like they've shuffled personalities and representations. I mean, I'm seeing this as being played for comedy with the way, they like realize that there's something strange about themselves and they have to like cover, and Janeway's going like, what is wrong with that kid? Kind of thing.
Why are their doors always locked when I go to talk to them?
What are they doing in there and why does it smell like that?
I'm completely unfamiliar with that smell.
But are you completely familiar with your assessment of this episode, Adam? Did you like this one?
She'll always bring it home.
Tense. Intense, specifically, in an unusual way, I thought.
Yeah.
It really felt like an unsolvable problem for the kids. Like an example of something they created that got out of control immediately.
Totally.
And not in a way that threatens the ship or threatens to kill them, but in a way that like threatens their sense of self, which is oddly more horrifying.
Yeah. It is a really great episode in terms of being a perfect Star Trek conundrum that could only happen in Prodigy.
Yeah.
Because like the crew of the Enterprise D would never like fuck up in this way. Like they make mistakes and screw things up and come across all kinds of different conundrums. But this feels really like the kind of mistake a kid that's too smart in some ways and too stupid in other ways would come up with, Yeah,
really well-written episode. I think a highlight of the second season for me. Really well done.
Indeed. Well, do you want to see if there's anything in the P1 inbox for us to take a look at?
Oh, yeah. Let's head over there.
Priority 1 message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Adam, personal Priority 1 message here. It's from Dave in DC, and it's to Adam and Ben. It goes like this. I was recently reading a book that included a long quote from Mark Twain. I was dismayed to discover that I couldn't help but hear the quote in Adam's voice, or in the voice of his Twain impression, I guess is the way to put it. I can only wonder what Twain would make of such a truly baffling occurrence.
A truly baffling occurrence. Why, the need for baffles are all around us. Wouldn't you say, oh Benjamin?
I would not. And, look, we have a pretty open jukebox P1 policy here on Greatest Trek. Call your drop, whatever. No more Twains. No more Twains in the P1s.
Wow. I am truly baffled by this decision. Unprepared, as I presume to be.
I'm going to put some baffles up around your microphone so you can't do that.
Let's see if the second P1 is any kinder to Benjamin R. Harrison's sensibilities.
We need a palate cleanser.
This one from Carter Kalchik. And their message goes like this: calling all bookish FODs who support trans rights. Trans rights and people are under unprecedented attack. That's why the Trans Rights Readathon is sending this emergency message. If you are a trans ally, now is the time to step up and be visible, but surely there's not a reading event that I can join to support trans rights, right? Wrong! The Trans Rights Readathon, which is March 21st to 31st, is an annual reading event across the internet, lifting up trans voices in literature, culminating on the Trans Day of Visibility. So here's where you can sign up. You go to transrightsreadathon.carrd.co. And if you need recs, FODs might like An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon or Light from Uncommon Stars by Rika Aoki.
I hope a lot of people get involved. This is, I'm looking at the dates here, Adam. We got 1 week left before the Trans Rights Readathon.
Oh, God.
This is coming out on 3/14.
I gotta get some books.
Yeah. Me signing up for a readathon would be so counterproductive because I'm such a tragically slow reader. Like I'd get like half a book done and be like, I'm sorry. I know I held the whole thing back.
You don't have to feel bad about whatever level of participation you can achieve here, Ben.
Yeah.
I'd say that to anyone. So let's get everyone signed up for the readathon.
Yeah.
And support trans rights. Absolutely.
Fucking A. And if you'd like to get a message of any kind out on the show, please do so by going to MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron. It's a big way to help us keep the lights on around here.
Hey, Ben.
What's that, Adam?
Did you find yourself, bonus breaks?
Bonus breaks.
Bonus breaks.
Bonus breaks.
Bonus breaks. Bonus breaks.
Sure did, Adam. I got to give it to Commander Tysus today for that laugh. That laugh that is so hard to tell whether it is that's actually funny or I'm laughing in a menacing way.
Yeah.
Laugh.
Yeah.
Which is, I feel like a very like Andorian quality, but Duffy Diggs hasn't had a ton of stuff to do with this character yet, so hasn't had a ton of time to like create a character, and yet I feel like he really has created a very fleshed out character in such a fun way, and he felt so scary in such a specific way that really called back to a kind of person you encounter in your childhood that I thought it was really great. How about yourself?
Yeah, I think Zero pursuing a possible sexual opportunity is a hilarious thought, and one I would like to see a continuation of. Like, where does this go? What happens now? What happens if these feelings are reciprocated?
Yeah, man.
I mean, does the nightstand just get filled with those red shaded goggles? You know?
And red shaded condoms?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to know more. And I think we're going to find out.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I don't know what a kid's show can do. You know?
I mean, it's a gas and a Vulcan. Like, I think they could show it, right? They could show it.
They could show everything.
Right? Yeah.
Wait, could they?
I don't know. I'm excited for the potential.
We'll find out on the next exciting episode.
Yeah.
Star Trek Prodigy.
Before we get to that, one final segment, Ben. It's our warning bois. That's the moment in the show where we share a message sent out to the world by a friend of DeSoto in order to grow the audience of the show. Maybe sell the show to a stranger is what they're trying to do, while at the same time making sure those that aren't on our level would never even try to listen to our show.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
Today's warning boy is actually just I think this is a DM on, I want to say Instagram, based on the interface being unfamiliar to me, from listener Wynde, who said, I didn't watch Prodigy when it first came out, so I also skipped your original reviews of season 1. I am now going back to listen, and I wanted you to know how much I enjoy your increasingly loud, off-key, and unhinged renditions
How dare
of
you?
Barnes Franks.
Off-key. Come on.
I laugh out loud every time. I was happy to hear you are starting on season 2 because I want more of that in my life. Thanks as always for the enjoyable pod. Very kind, Wynde.
How about that? Thanks, Wynde.
Very safe to post that in the DMs because you do no damage to your reputation. But yeah, we encourage people to leave nice reviews or post about the show online so that the word can get out there and the kind of people who would appreciate this can find it and enjoy it.
Yeah, thanks for spreading the word.
Well, that just about does it for us here today on Greatest Trek. We're going to leave the rest of the show in capable hands of our producer, Wynde Priddy. Take it away, Wynde.
Thanks, Wynde.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Ben and Adam will be back next week with a review of Star Trek Prodigy Season 2, Episode 7. It's called The Fast and the Curious. After using a Borg conduit to travel through time faster, Dal and his friends find themselves at the mercy of a demanding Kazon. Greatest Trek's annual membership drive starts next week. Thank you so much to all the Max Fun members who are already supporting with a monthly gift. If you want to join them and help keep this show going, set up your membership at MaximumFun.org/join. Also, as we get ready for the drive, the USS Hood Discord server is running a gift membership fund again this year. Learn more about it by joining them over at drunkshimoda.com. Thank you to Nick Ditmore, who created the show art, and Adam Ragusia, who composed the theme music. Thanks to Rob Adler and Bill Tilley for their work on the @GreatestTrek social media pages. Follow those accounts and use the hashtag #GreatestTrek when you post about the show online. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows.
supported
directly
by you.